Okay. Welcome to day 7 already of the 18-day summit to your best health. That means that we are a third of the way done, and we already have over 100 tips on how to stay healthier. So we are way ahead of the game since I promised you 100 during the whole summit. Today, we are very, very lucky. We have Tara Killen. Am I saying that right? Or am I?
Perfect.
Okay. She's with us all the way from Ireland, I believe, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
All right. Just in case, sometimes I get speakers all confused because there's so many of them. And she is a problem solver. It's like a woman after my own heart. I love to solve problems. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and she works similarly with people to get back to enjoying their lives again and their health. And the last 20 years, she's been working with people from all walks of life, from moms to industry leaders, billionaires, sports athletes, all of that. And she is a psychotherapist, a clinical hypnotherapist, a mindfulness educator, positive psychology researcher, practitioner, and mom of 3 young kids. Wow, you're a busy woman. And she blends in her expertise in positive psychology, which is something that I really, really enjoy and has really changed my life. And she lives, like I said, in Ireland in a beautiful fishing village by the sea. Wow, that just sounds beautiful, doesn't it? What's the weather like this time of year in Ireland?
Oh, do you know what? It's been just beautiful, really crisp and dry with all the leaves changing colors and lots of crunchy leaves to jump around in.
Oh, wow.
Really good. We've had a good October, November so far, yeah.
We did too. We were just in the 70s. I couldn't believe it. It was like for Fahrenheit. That's just unbelievable for November. So we can't complain either. And I enjoy the rain in the November, so it doesn't really bother me.
Well, you know what? I used to live in the Bahamas, and I think I was spoiled when I was living there because the rain was hot. I miss hot rain.
Where it feels good just to go out in the rain, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, it's not like that. There's lots of layers between me and the rain. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But tell us a little bit more on, so you've always been interested in helping people make changes and kind of break through mental blocks that they've had. Tell us your experience over the years.
Yeah. But it goes right back to when I was 6. And I remember hearing my granddad, who I loved, with all my heart, saying, I'm a worrier. And he was talking to my mom and he was saying, I'm such a worrier. I worry if I have nothing to worry about, And I remember that really struck me at age 6. And I thought, wow, that's incredible. And I loved him so much. He was my hero at the time. I decided I better think of things to worry about. So I started trying to figure out things to worry about at age 6, Wow. And so I started to become a worrier because I was emulating my hero granddad. And one day when I was about 12, and at school we were having this retreat, and somebody was talking to us about meditation and about how you could clear your mind through meditation, and you don't need to be stressed and worried all the time, or anxious about exams and all of the rest. And that was another revelation to me then, that whole idea of, wow, you don't actually have to just be a worrier. And also I realized that I have been consciously worrying for the last whatever amount of years, that I'd become that kind of person who worries. And then I had a choice that if I were to choose to become a worrier, surely I could choose to stop being a worrier. And, it wasn't quite as simple as, okay, I choose and then. So that's why, I started trying to find out how can I unravel the effects of what I've been doing to myself. So I picked up meditation and mindfulness at about age 12, and it's stuck with me through my life ever since. And I've also really, I think, been fascinated by the power and the choice that we have as individuals, to choose our mental wellness. And if we're guided on the way and how to do it, that we have the choice to go there or not. But we don't have the choice unless we know. unless we know there are options. And I guess that's been then my goal ever since, has been to provide people who want to know with options, you know, and to continually figure out how can we do it? How can we get back to that kind of clear mental space and really get to enjoy the life that we have and that we've been given? So, yeah.
And it creates a great community when everybody is you know, really concerned with how they can best support themselves, because that means that we have a healthy community of people who are actually taking care of themselves. I know for me, the first time that I ever really saw that I had the choice was, I don't know, 2007 or 8. Eckhart Tolle did a session with Oprah on his book, you know, not The Power of Now, New Earth, is that what it's called? Yeah, New Earth. Awakening to Your Life's Purpose is basically
beautiful book
about. But it really helped me see that, you know, happiness is a choice, and how we react in our own pain body is a choice, you know, and even though we feel these things, we can choose how we react to them, and we can even choose to look at whether or not it's truth for us, you know, and because I think we tell ourselves so many stories that aren't true. I know I tell myself a lot of stories that aren't necessarily true, and somehow they're serving me, and I don't see that. So really being able to see that there's a choice of going, okay, well, I can believe this or not, you know, there's certain truths that my mother taught me about working really, really hard and working for a paycheck, you know, and those things don't work for me anymore. But it's really looking at that truth and going, okay, does this have to be true for me? Because we can get so caught into black and white thinking, and, you know, if it's not right, it's wrong, or if it's not wrong, it's right. And you know, sometimes it just is an option.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And, you know, that's kind of where I started looking into hypnosis. And I trained and became an accredited clinical hypnotherapist. You know, it's a mouthful. But I really was so fascinated with that idea of, you know, that we can develop these almost mental programs, you know, and then we live from those, and they may not serve us any purpose. You know, it may have been stories that we picked up from our childhood, from parents or peers, or even stories we tell ourselves that become, which we think are our truths, and then we live them. And then at a certain point, when you stop and you look at it in the cold light of day, you know, if you can get the awareness to really step back and look at what's going on, some of those stories or truths are really no longer serving us. And I really see a lot of the time that people, and me and all of us, can be hypnotized, you know, that we can be wandering around in this hypnotic state and just working on automatic pilot. And so one of the real interests, as I said, about hypnosis for me is to see what are the mechanics of that? How does it work? And how can you reverse it to become more awake and more aware in your life, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, and that's what it comes down to. You know, whenever somebody enters a coaching program with me, they're always shocked because, you know, the first thing I do is not throw food plans at them and stuff. I tell them to observe themselves. Like, I need you to know why you make the choices that you're making already, because we can't really, you know, I can force you to change something for like 14 days or something, but I'm trying to teach health that continues on for a long period of time, that you're going to be able to see these stories. You're going to be able to go, okay, well, is that the truth? You know, or can I do this other option? I don't want people to, you know, need me to lead them. I want to teach them how to fish. I want to teach them how to get past because, you know, you know, no matter what I teach you, you're going to have issues past my coaching of you. You know, there's going to be new things that come up, and I want you to be able to go, you know, to ask yourself the same questions that I would ask you, you know, so that they can see the truth behind it, or their truth, you know, because I think sometimes we, like you said, we take on our parents' stories, and often it's our parents' fears, you know, like the things that they told us were to keep us safe, you know, and sometimes even our inner critic is there to keep us safe. We just have to remember that sometimes she's just over safe. You know, she wants to protect us from everything, which means that she's also protecting us from the good stuff, like our connection and our love, and, you know, getting high achievements, because that all takes risk. And
Yeah.
it's so easy to tell ourselves we can't.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you've hit on it such a central point as well in that whole concept and the truth that wellness is within each of us, the potential, it's within us all. And really our job is to uncover it, and to help people uncover it and give them the tools to continue uncovering. So I think I learn more from my kids every day, I swear, at this stage than I have learned from textbooks over years and years and years. It's just, we're all each other's guides on this journey to uncover the best that's in each of us. And if we can just even reflect that goodness that's inside you, inside me, inside everybody here, it really helps us to step back, have more awareness, and see what's going on in our lives and how we can claim a greater power and a greater awareness and greater enjoyment out of our life.
Yeah, and I find that, like, when we have more compassion for ourselves, we also then start seeing that in other people. I mean, it's just that mirror effect. So even if you think the world's gone mad and, like everybody is crazy, if you could give yourself self-love, self-compassion, it's so much easier for you to forgive the flaws and imperfections in other people when you realize that we all suffer from this human condition. Where none of us are perfect. None of us are going to, walk through life and never hurt anyone. It's just, that's how it works. And all we can really do is work on, continuously doing the best that we can, and then forgiving ourselves for the rest.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny. I was just teaching a wellness and resilience workshop to healthcare professionals, busy midwives here in Ireland last week. And so the science behind it is really showing, one of the biggest predictors of resilience is your ability to be compassionate to yourself. So self-compassion is so huge. And also if you're a caregiver or, you get burnt out easily every day, we only have a certain amount of attention or energy every day to give, empathy, say, to ourselves, to others. So if you're out there giving it out, you run out and it's like your cup is empty, Mm-hmm. And so the self-care is so important. It's just like that being on the airplane where the instructions are, get the oxygen mask on yourself first and then put it on your child or whoever you're in charge of, because you need to look after your self-care or you won't have anything left. You won't have that well to draw on to help anybody else. And it can seem so selfish to do that at first, to prioritize some self-care. You had a brilliant girl on during the week. I listened to a little bit of it. It was fabulous. And I know she was saying, even if you can take 5 minutes.
Dina, yeah.
Yeah, Dina, it was brilliant. 5 minutes a day is perfect. And, that's one of the things I love teaching with mindfulness is, like, when I started, it was, the practice was you sit down for 2 hours in front of a candle, like it was just so boring. Really, and so there's only a certain amount of people in the world that will have that kind of mental discipline at the start to do it. So many great people who could avail of mindfulness and meditation just don't even bother because it just sounds so boring. So I love teaching like really quick, simple ways of doing it and of clearing your mind. And it moves into that idea of if you can even just take 5 minutes a day for some self-care, it'll work. It'll make such an impact in your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So teach us some of these tips.
Okay.
Techniques.
Well, look, I know I was saying to you, the first thing that that really excites me, and I suppose mainly because it's coming from science, so we know it's not just something that somebody is saying and someone else is repeating, but we know it works, is this technique that's been shown to increase your overall happiness by 25%.
Nice.
So that's just massive, and if you saw that written down somewhere on a sales page or something, you'd say, well, this is a lie, it can't be true, this, whoever this is just schmaltzy, and it's not true. But this is backed by science, it's been repeated over and over again. This one thing that you do that will give you, a 25% increase in your well-being is dun dun dun, dun, dun. Develop the skill of gratitude, And so like for instance, so there were a group of people and they were told to sit down every night for 2 weeks and write down three good things that happened every day and why they were grateful for them. And by the end of those 2 weeks, they were feeling 25% happier. But also then, that particular study was repeated over and over again. And then it was tracked with, through the brain. They were tracked with the fMRI studies to show that it actually changed different neural pathways in the brain. So It has such a massive impact. The side effect of doing a gratitude exercise like that is that you change your normal mode from looking at like good and bad in your everyday life to noticing more of the good. And so that actually changes pathways in your brain. So, if you only have 5 minutes a day for self-care, I would say use 2 of those to write down, the things in your life that you can be grateful for. And the trick to it is don't bother about the big things, like health, legs, arms, whatever you happen to have that you're grateful for. That's okay, but you need to get more specific. So it might be the fact that you, remember to make your bed that morning. So you got into a really comfortable bed at the end of the day and it was already freshly made. The simple little things are the things that really will stick more in your mind and help you kind of change your mental outlook to start seeing lots more good in everyday life. And the other benefit to doing this is that you're going to start to notice more opportunities in your life. Mm-hmm. So you'll have less of your mental attention tied up in stress and worry. So you'll have more available to notice all the good, including good opportunities. So, it's a win-win. There's no downside to this. I have a fantastic little link to, and I told you we have a little PDF that anyone at the end, if you're still here, you can have a download of it. And it's a free resource just about what we're talking about today. But it has as well some interesting resources. One is a link to this fantastic place called the Greater Good Academy in Berkeley. And they have a gratitude test. So you can do a little test to test your gratitude level and see where you're at. Now, apparently, because I'm not living in the States now, I used to, but apparently the gratitude level of people in the States can be a little bit less in different parts of the States. And scientists are thinking that might be to do with the stories, we were talking about the stories that were told in growing up of, resilience and self-reliance and having to, make it on your own and really work hard and not be so reliant on other people. And that can have an impact on gratitude levels. So I don't know if that's true, Christina. You tell me what you think in your experience. I had never noticed that, but the science is saying it.
Well, you were saying people who are taught to work hard and like they earn everything. So I was a political science major, and one of my professors wrote a book called Crime and the American Dream. This is going to sound like it's going way off course, but stay with me. And the theory behind that book was that the crime is inevitable with the American dream because we say you come here, you work hard, you get a big house and your white picket fence and all of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So there's the inner city drama of the people who aren't making the amount of money to go live out in the country and put that white picket fence. So that's why they're saying the crime is there. It's the complete inequity. And I think as this country is maturing and during this current stage right now, there is such inequity that I think that people have gone from feeling entitled, and that's where I was bringing it back to. I think that there is sometimes a feeling of entitlement, but there's also, it's hard to call it like the negative connotation of entitlement because it's like they feel like they've earned it. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, I think that's where we become like really crossed between the two is, are we entitled to it? And have we earned it? And I think it's like Dina and I were saying the other day, you absolutely are deserving of it. And that doesn't mean you're going to get it right now.
I love it. Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's where it comes from. And so
Mm,
maybe for me, I know gratitude helps me because just like you were saying, like it brings my focus right back to the things that I want to focus on. I want to focus on the abundance in my life. I don't want to
yeah,
focus on the scarcity or,
yeah,
the fear culture that we have so much in this country. I want to focus on all the stuff that we have because I really believe in my heart of hearts that there's plenty for the need. It's the
yeah.
greedy people that are making it so hard. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's an interesting one, and I don't know. I know culturally, say for example, self-compassion here in Ireland. I find this a difficult one for people to want to learn. They find it difficult, a difficult pill to swallow. The idea of self-compassion, because culturally here in this country, you have no time to look after yourself, and it's seen as being selfish and that it's against community spirit to take time for you, and you have to always be the sacrificing person who sacrifices for others, and that's the kind of the image of what
Serving,
the
yeah.
Irish person has in their head, their kind of cultural story that they have to be. So it's very difficult to kind of move that ship around and talk about, hey, we really need to prioritize self-compassion, and why we're allowed to do that and what the benefits are for others in the community as well if you do that. So
I think we're so concerned about judgment. You know what I mean? That's what it comes down to. And I think it could also go back to what Dina was saying the other day about it being, TV is so much in our face and everything's perfect. And we see these happy people and advertising wants us to see these happy people and feel like we're wanting for something so that we go out and buy the thing that they're selling. But it's like we become so judgmental over each other that I have a hard time giving myself self-compassion. Like I really have to kick it back a notch. And for me, I was taught that immigrant mentality where if you just keep working hard enough, you'll get it all. But I wasn't taught how to work smart. So I wasn't taught about self-care, you know what I mean? And what happens when you burn out and you just want to, throw in the towel. Like, I wasn't taught about the long run. I was taught how to be a really good worker bee in projects and, move little bits ahead. And so it's very difficult for me to have self-compassion for myself. It's something that I have to really, I have to schedule it in. If I don't schedule in like my time for my self-care and to really look at what I'm telling myself, then I easily can go into a depression. And I really believe that that's why we have so many people with anxiety and depressive disorders in this country. I mean, yes, the sugar, I believe, attributes to it as well.
Yeah.
But it's also, why we have all these commercials. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I don't have cable, because last time I went to a friend's house and watched cable, there was like 12 commercials I watched, and like 4 of them were about depression medication. And I was just like, wow, that maybe the medication's not helping. Maybe we need to have, teachers of self-compassion, teachers, telling people that we're not perfect and that's okay. We're not meant to be,
Exactly. And did you see this viral alternative medicine video going around at the moment online, and it's Nature's RX.
I have seen that one. That one's great. I posted.
Fantastic. Warning, side effects. You may become happier.
I know. You may want to leave your 9 to 5. You may
want to quit your job and slow down.
You may enjoy your family more. And that's exactly what I think. If I don't know why I'm taking a pill, I won't take it. And I had doctors try to give me lots and lots and lots of pills. And I mean, it just, if I don't know why I'm taking it, I don't want to take it. I'll try it if I'm desperate, but they tell me, oh, you can take this forever. It's not going to harm you. You don't know that.
Yeah.
Why do I want to take something forever?
Yeah, I know. I mean, you've probably seen then the latest mindfulness-based, it's a mouthful again, mindfulness-based cognitive behavioral therapy, so CBT, has been shown now to be equally as effective as antidepressants for people with long-term depression. And that would be people who've experienced 3 times having, major episodes of depression throughout their lives, that use, doing this program, just an 8-week program, is equally as effective. So like, that's just so fascinating and so interesting. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and does that, so that will last long term then?
Yeah,
So
yeah, for the rest, like they're 10 years, I think, or so studying it now. Yeah, so far, yes, long term, because what it does is gives you the tools to identify when you're starting to spiral downhill and then what to do about it. So you get to really understand the inner workings of your mind and how to pull yourself back out, So actually I've developed a fantastic thing that people are finding really helpful, and I'm happy to give it to your tribe if you want to. It's called a wellness plan. And it's just a very simple, structured plan bespoke to you to see, what are the things that you need to do to keep yourself well, And so we all have stuff that, like, on a daily basis we need to do, like maybe shower, brush your teeth a few times a day. There's different things that you need to do rather than should do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, but for people who start to move into depression, they'll start to stop doing some of those things, maybe avoiding phone calls or avoiding going to the gym or whatever the things you normally do on a daily basis, So kind of structure to put around that, so you get a really clear picture in your life, what you need to do every day, what you need to do sort of weekly or regularly, read a good book every 3 months or every month or every week or whatever it is for you, or, catch up with a group of friends or those kind of things, and just get an actual structured plan around in your life what keeps you well and happy, And then what do you notice when you start to go downhill? Because we all have great times and terrible times. So what would you notice about yourself if you were to think about, in a darker time in your life, and you say there was a video camera in the room videoing you, what would be different? Would you be behaving different? Would your hygiene be different? What is it that's different about you? And then kind of work out a plan for how to get back. What do you do when you notice a few of those, I call them amber alerts or warning signs, that you're starting to spiral downhill? And what do you do about that? So for some people, they will decide, okay, everything that I've put on my daily list, my daily well-being list, I'm going to make myself do it, and sign the bottom line. Okay, I promised myself, if I find that there's 3 or 4 flags here, I'm not showering, I'm not answering the door, don't even want to bring the trash out. I will force myself to do it, and just start pushing through that and start bringing that spiral back up into positivity again. So it's been really effective. But there are a lot of mental tools out there that can massively help us to take more control over our well-being, And one of them you just mentioned there as well, about that idea of that it's okay to not be okay too, It's not all glossy, happy, dancing through valleys, rainbows and unicorns. It's just not.
Right.
And so part of my approach with people is to help everyone realize that's okay. That's okay. We're spent so long and so much energy trying to hold on to good feelings and push away bad feelings, and we're just wasting energy doing that. And I think possibly, I don't know if people here will agree with me or not, but I think one of the big disservices the positive thinking movement has done has been to allow us to think, we only need to think positively and ignore bad thoughts. And that creates a conflict, and so a lot of people are going around trying to think positively, trying to ignore any bad thoughts or bad feelings or anything that they, judge as bad. And then that's creating just such a huge maelstrom of energy, just holding on to all this bad stuff and trying to push it away, Whereas I would offer a completely opposite approach to that, which is, yeah, okay, we'll just sit with it.
Right.
So like if you've got a scary thought, look at it. Okay, it's a scary thought. That's all it is. It's just a thought. It's not you. We are not our thoughts. We're not. So one of the analogies that seems to really help is that idea of, do you ever lie on your back in a beautiful day, a sunny day, and you're watching like little fluffy clouds go across the sky? So that idea that, we are like that sky. We're that blue sky. and our thoughts are just like clouds passing by.
Hmm.
And some of those thoughts, you know, some of those clouds might become dark and thundery, you know. Some of them might call them sticky thoughts, and they hang around, and it suddenly becomes this lightning and this rain, and it's, you know, and we're immersed in it, we're getting wet. But behind all those clouds is still that blue sky, you know, and that's really what we are.
Mm-hmm.
So just to not be scared of it and to allow it and notice it. And so if there is a sadness or an anger or any kind of what you could consider a negative thought or a negative feeling, to just sit and notice it and practice mindfulness of the thought or mindfulness of the feeling. And mindfulness is just noticing. So you'd notice it and you'd say to yourself, you know, oh, okay, there's a bad feeling here, or there's a bad thought here. What does that feel like in my body, you know, and explore it. And what if I could put a color on that, what would it be? You know, and just kind of explore it. And even doing that gives you some mental space from it. It kind of separates you back a little bit from the feeling and the thoughts, you know. And what I'm finding, and in my experience, what other people are finding is that when you allow it and you just do that, it just dissipates like a fog clearing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you're not scared of it. So you don't have to struggle with the bad thoughts. You don't have to struggle with the bad feelings. You just go, oh, okay, there you are. All right, what's that about then? You know, and notice it and sit with it for a bit. And it's so much more freeing and, you know, easy than having to be on top form all the time, or having to present this happy image and, you know, imagining that your life is going to be just like in a magazine, and you know, like it's just not real. It's not real. So
right, and we'd have to live with a cardboard house then too, wherever they, you know, tape those things.
Yeah. But I think that's part of self-compassion too, to allow ourselves to experience the wealth of experience. You know, mm-hmm. We're all going to have good stuff happen and bad stuff happen. It'll happen to everybody. We're all going to be in good moods sometimes and bad moods other times, but it's not who we are.
Right. And those aren't the things that we see on TV, but it really should be. I mean, I think there's a lot about self-care that we aren't taught growing up necessarily. And like you said, it goes back to that message where we were taught, you know, work really hard, you know, and just keep working and, you know, serve others all the time, make sure that you're doing for others and it's not all about you.
Yeah.
And while that all happens, like we really suffer by not seeing that, you know, everybody has these times, or not learning how to deal with these, you know, because what I call it is I stuff it, you know, I stuff it down, like whatever negative feelings I don't want to feel. I've been stuffing for a long time, and like just in the last 5 to 10 years, I've been, you know, trying to pull it all back out, and it takes so much longer to get it back out. So I think it's so important, as like what Dina was saying, when we talk to our children, to make sure that we're not shaming any of their feelings, you know, that we're telling them that all these feelings are okay to have. And also teaching them how to be with somebody who is having a hard time, that it's okay. It doesn't need to be fixed, you know. I think when we see people in feelings, having feelings that we find uncomfortable, we so quickly want them to stop crying. What can I do to fix that? What can I, you know, say? How do I stop this? And I think that the best thing to do is just sit with them and let them, you know, get their feelings out, you know. And I talked about this before. I sit in women's circles for that reason, because it's important to me now that I get all of those feelings out, because if I don't, all I end up doing is stuffing them, and I'm creating more and more of a trigger. So I'm gonna get to that one point, and then all of a sudden it's gonna be like, and it's never pretty. It's never pretty, and my husband usually takes the brunt of it. So, I mean, I think it's so important that we learn that, you know, part of being human is having those feelings that are uncomfortable as well, you know. And it's just like a feeling I call for exciting, is when we are trying to get to a big goal or make a big change, and it's exciting. It's really crazy exciting, but it's also really freaky scary. Like like me doing an 18-day blab conference, like something that probably should have it probably should have had more than 1 hour of thought behind it, but but yeah, I mean, these are things that we have to sometimes take that leap. You know, fear doesn't mean that we stop. Fear means that we take a look at that fear and we go, well, what is it that I'm really scared about? You know, what is it that, you know, is uncomfortable? Is it just uncomfortable, or is it something that I shouldn't be doing? And there's a big difference between the two of those. And being uncomfortable is what gets us stuff that we want in life. You know, I truly believe it. It doesn't mean that you're always uncomfortable. You're striving to feel good. That's my motto. Health is about feeling good. But there's going to be times where you have to define, is it okay for, you know, just like sadness, is it okay for me to sit in this uncomfortable spot to get what I want? You know, and I think so often we choose not to be uncomfortable because we think that that's wrong. And I don't think it's always wrong. It's just the intention and the motivation behind it.
Yeah. That you just reminded me there of a brilliant Pixar movie that was out recently there, the kids movie where joy and sadness, and
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, you need to see it. I'm recommending it to all my clients because it's just really such a brilliant illustration of how we need to just be able to sit with all the emotions. And we were really sold a pack of lies growing up that you can only, stop crying.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. And only think happy thoughts and all that stuff,
Yeah, so, I got that. I'll give you something to cry about. And it's like, well, I'm already sad.
Or worse, if you stop crying, I'll give you some sweets. Candy.
Oh, there you go. There's a good one too.
So, it's fascinating. It really is. But it's just so important for our self-care. You're right. It really is. It's so important. But, just to go back to the tips that we're talking about today. So my first top tip is gratitude. If you want to do just one thing that's going to give you, a burst in your happiness, start practicing gratitude. There's so many different ways of doing it. From, starting a gratitude journal to get a gratitude jar in your kitchen and just get little Post-it notes, or rip up little pieces of paper each day, write down something you're grateful for, pop it in, and then anytime you're feeling down, just pull it out and read those little snips of paper, and it'll make you feel so much better. Notice that and appreciate it. But you'll notice after about 3 days of doing this, you're going to start to notice more good stuff going on in your life than you had even realized was happening before that. So yeah, it's an absolutely top tip to do. It really is. And as I said, you're going to get links to some really interesting other places, nothing to do with me now, the Greater Good Science Centre and a few other places online to send you off to find some really interesting resources about gratitude and what to do there. But, and I'd love to hear as well, I'm sure you would too, Christina, for interesting new ideas and concepts people can come up with. There's this idea of hedonic adaptation, it's called. And it's this concept that anything that we change will work for a while and then it will stop working. It becomes a chore, So if you decide to write in a gratitude journal every night, so for me, that might work great for about 2 weeks. And then it's like, oh no, do I have to do it again? For somebody else, that might work brilliantly for a year or forever, or for, a third person, it might work well for 3 months, and then it's just becoming a chore. So you need to, switch it up. So whatever works well, that's great. But when you get to a point in any practice of anything that you start to feel it's becoming a bit of a chore, you need to find a new way to try, get the same result. You need to swap it around.
Absolutely.
But the gratitude practice is the only one that we have discovered so far that actually changes your set happiness point. So, yeah, I mean, it's fascinating, but we've studied and seen that, so say you win the lotto, or you get married, or you move country, or, get a brand new car, or whatever, that generally increases your happiness. We all have this set point. And those events generally increase your happiness for about 3 months. And then you go back to your normal set point. So it's really interesting, but generally, worldwide, people have their own set points, and they'll, get these little bumps in happiness and then go back to normal. Or the birth of a new baby, anything like that. You get about 3 months out of these things before you get back to your normal level. But gratitude is the only thing that we have found that will increase by a quarter your normal set level, and you will stay up at that new level then, because it literally rewires the brain to notice all the more good that's in the world and in your life. So it's my number one tip for sure.
Perfect. Yeah. And I gratitude jars is something that I really recommend. I also, when I coach clients, I have a journal that I give them, and in there is a space for their gratitude for the day. So every day there's space for them to write something that they're grateful for, because I really do believe it's the focus that we give it. I mean, no matter what change we're trying to make, if we're trying to lose weight, focusing on the weight that we have is not going to help. You know, focusing on good foods, on high nutrient foods, focusing on feeling good, on your confidence, those things all help, you know.
Yes.
But it's where we put our focus. We can't focus on the thing we don't want, or we end up manifesting that thing. And I've known people that have been really good at manifesting all the negative things that they were telling me in their life, and it's like, but you're creating that. So I don't think people realize how much their focus really directs where their brain is looking at and what they're looking at. And so gratitude is definitely is a great tip.
Yes, it's really the number one for me, you know, that I like to get across to people, because I find it's the most helpful thing I can offer so far, you know. And then after that, I would move into what we spoke about earlier there about, you know, being able to sit with all feelings and all thoughts. And I do this cloud watching exercise, I call it, just a cloud watching exercise, where you just take 2 minutes, that's all. 2 minutes to just sit down and notice what's going on in your mind. Notice content, you know, just notice, is there a lot going on, or are there a few thoughts? Is there, you know, a flood of thoughts? And see if you can almost imagine that they're like clouds. So when a thought comes in that you recognize, oh, hey, this is, I'm thinking about cooking dinner, say. So I start thinking about cooking dinner. And then I notice, oh, I'm thinking about cooking dinner. That's a thought about cooking dinner. And then I just let it float on by, okay? And then, you know, just sit there for another moment or two, and another thing will pop into my head, and I'll be thinking it. And then I get a bit of space back from it and go, oh, yeah, that's a thought that I've been thinking. And then let that pop on by. You know, so it's kind of getting used to separating yourself from all of the content of your mind, getting used to giving yourself a little bit of space from it. And you'll notice some thoughts are more sticky, that you're in them and you're thinking them for ages, you know. And, you know, it might be later on in the day, you go, wow, I was kind of doing an exercise there. That was 3 hours ago. I forgot completely. I just got wandered off in thought. So I'm finding, and I know that other researchers are finding, that just doing these exercises by like little moments, you know, 2 minutes at a time, 3 minutes, 30 seconds, and stopping and taking a breath, just give you little pauses during the day. They're equally as effective, if not more so, because people will do them, than asking anybody to sit down for 40 minutes to 2 hours, you know. So it will help you massively in your life to just get a bit of headspace from everything that's going on. And when you're doing that cloud watching exercise, you may notice feelings come up as well, you know, emotions. So, or you may notice feelings in your body, you know, discomfort that you hadn't noticed was there, or you noticed that, you know, with me, I noticed my neck is tense, or, you know, I hadn't been thinking about it all day, and then I feel it, and, you know, just explore it. So, yeah, I mean, that would be really my second tip for an exercise, is to just take 2 minutes and do some cloud watching with your thoughts and your emotions.
Very neat. And I know that that's true, because I know that so often I can be behind a computer for so long, and then all of a sudden, you know, if I take a break and observe my body, I'm like, wow, my shoulders are really tense, you know, and I can feel the stress that has been building up in my body, even though, you know, I thought I was fine. But until I actually take the moment to really feel how I'm feeling, that's when I can actually see what's going on in my body. And when I'm moving too fast during the day, it's really, really difficult for me to really be in my body. I mentioned last week, you know, one time a counselor asked me, you know, do you know what it feels like to be in your body? And I was just like, that's a silly question, but it's really not. I had no idea what it was like to be still in my body. You know, I could feel all the things that I didn't like, but I wasn't looking for, you know, anything else that was going on. And now by doing that, you know, just a few times a day or even once a day, I can I can really stave off illness,
Yeah.
or getting overly tired, any of those things, because I can
Fantastic.
start feeling like, wow, I'm getting really tired, or, you know, I can tell when there's certain muscles hurting, I can tell that I've overworked myself. That's my indicator now, but it's really about listening to your body. I mean, you can't
Yeah.
make changes unless you know how stress feels in your body, and then you can witness it the next time and go, wow, I'm starting to feel that way, you know, it's time to take a break.
Yes, yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah. I think so many of us can kind of go around in our lives as if, our bodies are just really transport systems for our heads, you
Yes,
know,
exactly.
and we really need to do that to get more in connection with it. In fact, it can be the most difficult mindfulness practice that there is for people when they're starting learning how to really connect it with the body and notice the different sensations and feelings in the body. It can be very difficult to do. Now, some people find it really easy, and it's perfect for them to start with. But oftentimes, it won't be the very first exercise I'll do with people because they find it so difficult.
No,
You know,
absolutely,
but
absolutely. And it was
very
difficult.
sorry,
Yeah.
sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just agreeing. It was very difficult to be mindful and remember to like look internally, but you know, I have a chronic illness, so it became a little easier to remember. I mean, that's the gift of a chronic illness, is that it will remind you when you need to take care of yourself. Hopefully you can catch that ahead of time, but I
Okay.
mean, it's a gift and, you know, evil all at the same time. I have to be very healthy, because if I'm not healthy at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. So you have to be aware and be on top of it to catch it before it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But well, one of the really simple mindfulness techniques I'm using with people and I use myself all the time to just kind of like a 30-second mental reset throughout my day is so if you're sitting down now, or if you're standing, but if you're sitting, just put your feet flat on the ground and bring your attention to the feeling of your feet flat on the ground right now, and maybe even wriggle your toes just so you can connect your mind to what's going on there. Just so you can feel your feet, push your feet into the ground, because unless you're up in an airplane right now, you're somewhere connected to this earth. Even if you're on the top of an apartment building, it still connects down through the joints in the building all the way down into the earth. So just to feel that grounding, feel that your feet on the ground, maybe notice the temperature of your feet, or the feeling of the texture of the fabric against your skin if you're wearing shoes or socks, or there's a carpet of floor under you. And then just bring your attention up to the feeling of being supported in the chair that you're sitting on. Just that feeling of your body being supported. And then just take a breath. I see someone there is saying they like to ground themselves by standing on the earth barefoot. That is my favorite too. I love that.
Me too, but not in November.
But that's something that you can do anytime. You can put little triggers in that say every time if you drive, every time I get into the car, I'm just going to take a moment before I turn on the ignition and feel my feet on the ground, feel my body and being supported, and take a slow, deep breath. And just follow with your attention, follow the breath all the way in and all the way out. And just notice that breath. So that takes about 30 seconds to do that. And so that's something that I've been teaching to people from all walks of life. And people are even using it in busy emergency rooms, and they're running from one case to the next. They just stop for a moment and do that. And it's really helping. The more you practice, the better it works for you. And as I said, it's only a 30-second practice. So it's really simple. It's a simple self-care tool,
Yeah, just a simple way to reground yourself and
Yeah.
get back to your center. So, because I know if I don't do that, I can go crazy emotional, or, I just start, sacrificing things and just not making the best choices for myself if I'm not constantly grounded.
Somebody's saying they use breathing to ground themselves. Yeah, so fantastic, isn't it? Yeah, it's so excellent. It really is. It makes such a difference. But I know the other thing we were saying that we talk about is I had said to you, I have this tool, and it's the one thing that you can do that's going to unlock like a font of patience within you.
We want that one.
Yeah. I just want to kind of throw that one out there, and we're coming to the end here, but you guys can go and research this a little bit more if you want to, but basically the idea is this, that between stimulus, this is the scientific part of it, between stimulus and response, there's a space. So that means that, for instance, say you say something really nasty to me, right? I know you're not going to, but say you did. Well, I hope you're not going to. But say you said something really nasty to me. I could immediately, you know, freak out back or react or do whatever, you know, take offense. But between the moment of when you say something nasty and I react, there's actually a space. There's a moment there.
Sure.
You know, the same way if, say, I get an email and it's like looking for urgent action, or it's saying something I forgot to do, or it's a, you know, somebody angry or somebody deeply upset and looking for my help instantly. So I could just instantly, you know, jump to respond to the email and drop everything else I'm doing, you know, but actually between that stimulus and my response, there is this space. So there's this like a micro moment before I decide to freak out or, you know, respond instantly or you know, get my whole system and body on high alert status, basically. Before I do that, there is this micro moment. And so if you start looking for those spaces, it's quite fun, actually. You have like a little experiment with yourself to look for those spaces. And then you'll notice that it's almost like time stops and those spaces just, you know, become wider. And then you get the choice and you can consciously choose to respond instead of just reacting, you know? So I notice I get so many great opportunities to practice this with my young kids every day. Where they might be like,
little kids can, yes.
Yeah, and everybody can. So, you know, you might find a few little kids and they're demanding you straight away, or, you know, someone's screaming or whatever it is that's going on, that, you know, you automatically generally will jump to it, jump, you know, or even in the morning time, you wake up in the morning and there's generally this micro moment before we realize everything that we have to do that day. You know, so there's a micro moment before suddenly, whoa, I'm late, or whoa, I have to get going. And there's your system, your whole nervous system goes into high alert. So I'm saying, hey, have a little game with yourself. Look for those micro moments. Look for those spaces. And when you find one, just take a breath, you know, and then just do what you're going to do. See, but it gives you more options. It gives you more options to respond. And you might decide to consciously, you know, get cross with somebody anyway. But you might decide, okay, I don't actually need to respond to this email right this second. I can continue doing what I'm doing, you know, and in this world that we live in with the constant notifications, bang, 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 all the time, pulling our attention, it's constant engagement of our red alert system and in our nervous system. So learning how to notice those spaces is really beneficial. And it will help you discover, you know, a wealth of patience, because these moments become wider and longer and deeper. Yes. So it's a great fun one to try.
Yeah, that reminds me of a woman I know. She talks about the $1 million response to a $10 question. You know, like that's where we can go when we're not grounded. You know, and so taking this moment to become, like you said, the observer of the situation, almost, where you're saying, okay, well, this person said this and I can react like this. Is that going to serve me? You know, or I could choose to know that that's their truth and it has nothing to do with me. You know, like that's just it says more about who they are than it does who I am.
Yeah, yeah.
But if I don't take that moment, I can easily go to that $1 million response and just blow the lid off the house, you know, and it was only a $10 question. Like,
yeah.
It wasn't a big deal. And I just made it like, you know, the house is on fire. So.
Oh, but look, we all do it, don't we? We all do that. You know, we all fall into that all the time. That's why I find this one so useful, you know, and sometimes you might notice, I think at the start of this practice, sometimes you notice after the event, oh, wow, there was a space and I reacted, you know, but that's fantastic because that's starting to see it, starting to notice the moments, you know. And no, I don't know if anyone's going to ever get it every time. Maybe the Dalai Lama or somebody, I don't know. Like
Yeah.
I went and did like 5 months sitting on a mountaintop type of thing, and had nobody around, and did all that in my 20s, and that was awesome. But it's much more challenging and fun doing it, now here in this busy life with 3 little kids, and just a lot going on. It's fantastic to look for these spaces and these moments and see, can we be real and just allow our own inner goodness out and enjoy life as much as possible, and help others, and do all of that in the middle of a busy life, instead of just kind of closeting yourself off where there's no challenge.
Absolutely. And I think celebrating those challenges when you are able to, notice that difference, celebrating that within yourself and saying, hey, great job. You were able to hold your breath for a minute and just get through it. Because I know often I go right to the situations where I can shame myself sometimes. I can choose that, obviously.
Yeah.
But I have to be very aware that I'm not choosing to go, you should have said this, or you should have done it this way, or, whatever the shame part is. But I've learned that lately, one really important thing is to celebrate the wins, like when you're noticing that, be proud of yourself, because that's a growth step. If we don't take the time to be really proud of our growth, we're not going to continue our growth.
For sure. And, I think everybody that I've ever worked with has an inner critic, and is going to be talking to themselves sometimes, at least in a negative way. And so the only antidote to that I know of is to notice it and to be kind to that voice. Because that voice is coming from the past, and probably from stuff you were told when you were little, and, whatever. But to be kind and gentle with that part of you as well, that seems to be the easiest and most gentle way to just allow that be, but not let it affect you,
Sure. And I know so many people that try to just ignore that part. And let me tell you, I spent like 35 years trying to ignore that part, and it doesn't really work, because I believe that my inner critic has truth for me. She has she's got information for me, and she's just trying to keep me safe. So I always imagine her as this little old granny, the little old granny that wants to keep me really safe. She just wants to make sure, she hears all these terrible things on the news, and she doesn't want anything to happen to me. And then, so I listen to her, what she has to say. I decide for myself whether or not it's truth. And in my mind, I give her a little blankie and put her in the rocking chair in the corner and let her sit by the fire. And I go, well, thank you very much for your wisdom. I really appreciate what you have to say. And I'm still going to do this thing because I think it's going to be fine, and I'm going to be okay.
Yeah, that's such a perfect way to handle it. I love that. That's beautiful.
It works for
beautiful. Yeah. I think that exact technique works for everybody who tries it. Maybe not the granny, they might see it as a little girl or their mom or whoever. For everyone, there'd be somebody else you can maybe relate it to. But yeah, I think it's such a fantastic technique. It's there for a reason.
Yeah, there's value in her, and I don't want to discourage her value, because there is value into having an inner critic. She is trying to keep you safe, but you just have to choose that, does that message serve me anymore? And when I was a little girl, a lot of those messages kept me safe, and they, kept me happy. So, but they just don't work for me now.
Yeah. And what you're doing is the same as that cloud watching exercise, that you're looking at the inner critic, and she's there, and you're going, okay, there, I see you there. That's okay. You can stay there. I'm going to carry on and do this anyway.
Exactly.
So it's okay. You're not trying to struggle, push her away, ignore her, any of that. You just say, okay, you're there. That's okay. And just noticing, it's perfect.
Absolutely. I mean, and it has to do with being able to know whether or not these things can hurt you. At least it was for me. I mean, it may be different issues for other people, but in my instance, it was, I know that I can keep myself safe now. So I don't really need her. But like I said, sometimes she's got wisdom. So about choosing.
Yeah. Well, in my experience, for the people that I've worked with, generally everyone, there will be a good motivation behind it, whatever the voice is. There's always seems to be a good motivation behind it, but bringing it into the awareness you know, bring it into the person's awareness. When we become aware of that voice, that critical voice inside of us, why they're doing what they're doing, then we can be kinder to it and just allow it to not have the power. The power just dissipates when you're not afraid of it, or when you're not just reacting to it, you know, and you start looking for that space again, you know, the space between you hear the critic and then you act. So instead of that, you hear it and you go, there's that voice again, you know, or that feeling or whatever it is. And that gives you space and freedom. You're back to being the blue sky again.
Yeah, and that was the other powerful thing that happened with that Eckhart Tolle book for me is, I mean, that was the beginning of my whole mindfulness change, because he also talks about being able to see the situation without being in the situation, you know, being able to see it without all of the emotions and the judgments and, you know, all of that other stuff that as a human comes with us, of course, but we do have a practical mind that if this was somebody else's situation, how would I see this? You know, what would I want them to do? You know, I think sometimes we get so wrapped up in the emotion of it that we often know. I mean, we always know. The power of now. I'm actually talking about the New Earth, or a Brave New Earth.
A new Earth, isn't it?
New Earth. Awakening to Your Life's Purpose. I know that
The Power of Now is an awesome book too.
Yeah, The Power of Now is definitely an awesome book. And those, I mean, they just completely opened my mind on how I could see that other, I mean, he explains it quite simply that he got to a point in his life where he was like, I can't, and who is the self I can't stand? And how can these not, you know, how can I be two people? I'm showing up as two people, the person who's ashamed of me and the person who is doing the being. So, I mean, it's, to me, it's the difference between spirit and the human piece, you know, where spirit is perfect and human is just, you know, we are these physical things that have limitations. And even though we don't want to be bound, we are. So.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It really is.
That's all we basically have, I think. But if anybody has any questions, feel free to put it aside. I gotta admit, I failed today. I didn't upload that document that you sent me. So what I'm going to do is, if you're on our Facebook page, and I will send it out in the weekly email if you're registered. But if you're on our Facebook page and the link is up at the top of the comments, I will definitely post it there with the blog post as well. So it will definitely all be up there in case you want to download. I lost Tara. But it will all be there. And Tara had a couple of other things. All the bonuses are on the registration pages, so feel free to go on up there. The registration link is up there as well. And I apologize, I didn't upload that document for her. It's been a busy day. I don't know what happened to Tara. Tara, can you still hear me? All right, well, she's not here anymore. I guess Ireland hit bedtime. So this was, I'll start wrapping up while we decide what happens to her. This was day 7 of the summit, and I was very excited to talk to Tara about mindfulness, and she had some really great tips about gratitude and making sure that we are focused on gratitude, and the more we focus on that, the more it's going to multiply in our lives. She also talked about being, having some kind of a cloud let go session, let's say, where she suggested going out and staring at clouds and being able to, you know, see the thoughts that you're having. Oh, there she is. She is back. Well, I still have you in here. Here, let me try to open another seat. Maybe you can pop in. Oh, there we go. There we go.
Whoa, that was weird.
I was like, you just disappeared.
I'm back.
Oh yeah, and there was a comment over there about Eckhart Tolle doing the chapter by chapter discussion with Oprah, and that was where I actually started way back. I think they did that in 2007 or 2008. That's how I learned about the whole thing, and that's when I started really studying mindfulness and how we make changes and how we can see our lives in a different way in order to raise our happiness range, as Tara was mentioning before about the set point. Within that set point, there's usually a range where we lie on that scale that it usually falls between, correct?
Yes.
Is that right? Yeah. So, I mean, you can go up and down depending, you win the lottery, obviously, you're probably going up a little bit for 3 months, as Tara said, and then you're going to fall back down to your average.
Hard to believe, isn't it, that it's only 3 months?
I know. I'm like, geez, it only takes 3 months to spend that much money.
Yeah, apparently. Well, not the spending of it, but the enjoyment you get out of it.
That's true. That's true. And I mean, I think we've seen that anywhere we go, whether if you're a miserable person, you're going to be a miserable, poor person, you're going to be a miserable millionaire. It doesn't matter. If you choose to be miserable, that's what it is. And sadly, a lot of that is defined by our family, our precursor. I have a teacher who told us that shame actually starts in the womb. So you carry all of the shame from your parents. I mean, it's hereditary how a lot of this can happen. So it's not necessarily your fault, but you can do some things to fix it.
Yeah. It's the big message.
Yeah, and the gratitude exercise was the first one, like I mentioned before, that Tara had mentioned. So just make sure that we're focused on our gratitude. Start writing things down that you're grateful for and rereading them and going, right, I am grateful for these little things, and focus on the little things, because it's easy to be thankful for the sun rising every day or whatever, but maybe you're thankful that the sun is shining on your favorite flowers and they're going to be blooming soon, or, just the magic of watching purple petals open. I mean, I'm a gardener, so I love those things. I can't wait till spring. And then we talked about, she was talking about the cloud watching and just watching your thoughts, kind of like the clouds, watch them kind of go by, and don't judge them, just observe them. What are they about? Is that the truth for you? Are these good thoughts? Are these things that you want to focus on? These are all good questions to ask yourself.
Yeah.
And then the patience trick, where you try to catch yourself right in the middle of the thing that happens and your reaction. So the stimulus or the trigger point that happens, somebody says something mean or something doesn't go your way, whatever, and how you react to that. There's a moment in there, and often, we can catch it. It would not only change our reaction to it, but it would allow us to see things. Being able to be the observer of that situation makes the situation a lot cleaner for us. Is that what you would say?
Perfect. Yes. Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those are all important things. Like I said, if you scroll up and get to the Facebook page or the registration page, you'll have her upload that I so willingly failed to do.
You know what? I'm just going to type in here the link to the free little bite-sized mindfulness session that we said.
Yeah.
The meditation one there. I'll just type that in.
Yeah, definitely add that in, and I will add on in all of her links in the blog post that will come out tonight before 10 p.m. The earlier the better.
Yeah.
Because when I put it out, that means that's when I'm, might be going to bed or starting to work on my other projects. So.
This is a free 13-minute guided mindfulness session by me. And it's just like a bite-sized mindfulness session, and it will help you to ground yourself and clear your mind and just, give yourself a mental reset. It's really nice to play if you wake up in the night and you can't sleep or going to sleep. It's really, really good. Or during the day, if you have 13, 15 minutes to spare, but make sure you're not driving or operating machinery when you're listening, please.
Good warning.
So I've just given the link there, learn.happyhealthymind.com/free gift.
Perfect.
Okay. Christina,
Oh,
thank you so much. I've really enjoyed
you.
chatting with you guys. I think
Yeah,
you're so fantastic to put on this summit to really help us all and empower us. There have been so many
it's
fabulous different
fun. Yeah.
messages already, and I'm looking forward to see what else you're going to have in the next few days and weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and speaking of which, I just want to let everybody know tomorrow, Crystal will be here. She's the clutter shrink, so she's going to help us organize our houses and our lives so that we can access the things that we need and get rid of the things that we don't. But I talked to her today. She's very kind. She's not going to make you throw out all your stuff. So, just tune in tomorrow at 3 p.m. And with that, I am going to pop off here. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us and watching the replay.
Awesome.
Bye.
Thank you.